Welcome back to the channel, Warhammer Man back in the studio, and today we're going to take a look at another release for the Path of the Preview. Build your Aeldari warhost around the Phoenix Lords and their aspect warriors. So it starts off by saying, yesterday we demonstrated just how powerful MAUGAN Ra, armed with his devastating scythe-like weapon, the Maugatar, is in battle. But that's only part of the story. Just wait until you see what happens when you surround him with a bunch of Dark Reapers. So obviously he is the Phoenix Lord of the Dark Reapers. If you didn't check out that video, take a look, and there is a bunch of the Dark Reaper, or stats for MAUGAN Ra, rather, in that video. But this just shows how we basically can buff up our Dark Reapers with him. Phoenix Lords are the legendary Aeldari who most people founded the aspect shrines dedicated to the different ways in which Khaine, the god of war, waged his crusades. Those Aeldari who walk the path of the warrior choose to specialize in particular aspects of combat by joining these shrines and becoming aspect warriors. There's an incredibly strong link between the Phoenix Lord and the warriors of their aspect, including MAUGAN Ra and his Dark Reapers. His inspirational presence is now captured in the new Harvester of Souls rule. So Harvester of Souls, Aura, while a friendly Dark Reapers unit is within 6 inches of this model, add 2 to the leadership characteristic of models in that unit, and the unit has the objective secured ability. So he bolsters nearby Dark Reapers within 6 inches with additional leadership, so they're less likely to take casualties after taking casualties, and also objective secured, so they can basically steal objectives, or in all reality, the Dark Reapers really aren't going to be going anywhere. So this is more for like backline objectives. So in all reality, this is probably going to be, stopping your opponent from using infiltrators or, deep strike or something like that to steal your objectives away from you. This is probably going to be more of a defensive buff. But as we continue on here, pop a unit or 2 of Dark Reapers on an objective in your territory and enjoy a leadership boost while you rain down death from afar upon your enemies. Now, honestly, because of like fire and fade rules and everything, I think this is probably, you're probably going to want to keep your Dark Reapers from getting shot more than like try to keep them like strong after taking a bunch of fire. So this is probably the worst example of the rule, honestly. It's not just MAUGAN Ra who gets this rule like this. All the Phoenix Lords pals have something similar. ASURMEN and his dire Avengers can advance to the midfield, merrily cutting down foes with their Avenger Shuriken catapults before claiming an objective. So obviously, ASURMEN is the Phoenix Lord of the dire Avengers. So he is somewhere in between, definitely not like a melee character. He's more like a shooting buff bro. But I'm assuming he will buff up the Avengers pretty good. So if you can move up the field fast and hit hard on the way and kind of steal away some objectives, that could be useful. Definitely could be useful. What's more, each of the 6 gets a substantial boost to their stats, befitting their status as mythical exemplars of war. So I'm assuming each one of these will have completely different rule, but that will also give objective secured to their relative aspect warriors. Because otherwise they would have just made, if they were all going to get the same thing, it would have just been, there would have been one rule for the Phoenix Warriors, and then that Phoenix Lord rule would just go to its corresponding aspect. So this is specific to the Dark Reapers. I'm assuming whatever the one that's specific to the Dire Avengers will have something completely different, but also will have objective secured. So it looks like this is going to be the worst one, honestly. Similarly, BAHARROTH and the Swooping Hawks can swoop down, the clues in the name, claim objectives deep into enemy territory, while KARANDRAS and Striking Scorpions can ambush unsuspecting opponents before claiming an objective. These new rules really let you build an army around a particular Phoenix Lord, leading your favorite aspect warriors into glorious battle. A legendary hero commanding a team of intense combat specialists isn't that what Warhammer 40,000 is all about. And then we see here JAIN with some Banshees. We'll take a look at Prince Uriel and his special relationship with the Aeldari Corsairs tomorrow. And next week we'll see how the stats line for the Aspect Warriors have been improved and discover why JAIN leading a group of Howling Banshees is almost unstoppable. So we've seen a little bit of like the rules for what the Banshee Mass and stuff like that do, and they look pretty good. Basically on the charge, stop your opponent from like bolstering against that charge, And then on top of that, they basically fight first before all your opponent's units. And then on top of that, your opponents all lose one attack. So that could be pretty good. The Banshees definitely look like they're going to be good. We saw the stats on their weapon as well. And then for the striking Scorpions, they have the additional attack from the Scorpion Chainsword. It appears to have gotten, decent stat line also. And then we see as well, and these are all coming from like the Autarch, what we've seen so far. And then the Striking Scorpions will do mortal wounds on 6s. So that will be good as well. We haven't seen a lot of other special rules from them so far. Overall looks good. I mean, the points and the benefits and buffs and everything are going to make or break all these guys. So I don't suspect that all these Phoenix Lords are going to be like an auto take. There's probably going to be like 1 or 2 of them that are just absolutely phenomenal and super strong, and then the majority of the other ones are just going to kind of be meh. But really it depends on the points. I mean, because honestly, what we've seen so far from MAUGAN Ra is good, but we haven't seen anything amazing. And like that aura ability is good, but it's not amazing. Now granted, objective secured is definitely nice to stop your opponent from like dropping in at the last minute and like stealing away an objective from you. But in all reality, it's not really going to be like make or break on a defensive unit, because if your opponent is able to like drop in and get right on top of those units, you're probably doing a poor job screening or something like that to begin with. So we'll have to see how it all works out. I imagine this is going to be much better on like the offensive units, having the objective secured, because you'll be able to like kind of swoop in and steal away these objectives from your opponent. Obviously your opponent's going to try to stop you from doing that the same way that you would try to stop them from doing that. So again, we'll see how it all works out. This is kind of an underwhelming, they show off one new rule. The rule is honestly not that great, and then they basically just talk up like the rules to come. We'll have to see. All of it's really just going to be dependent on, points and stats. So far, what we've seen from MAUGAN Ra is pretty good, but I don't see anything like game breaking here. It will be nice that he's essentially going to be able to buff Dark Reapers, give them objective secured. They'll be able to like fire and fade together. But the real question is, they probably don't need a great leadership buff because you're trying to stay out of line of sight. They probably don't need objective secured because you're probably going to be like screening the area where they're at to stop them from getting taken down. So I don't know if like MAUGAN Ra is supposed to be like a threat in combat and allow them objective secured. So now you don't need a screen for them. And that's the goal. In all reality, it seems more likely or more reasonable or realistic that for the same amount of points you'd be paying for him, you could probably buy a second unit of Reapers, have more efficient, effective shooting. We'll have to see. I think the main rule we've seen from him so far that is good and makes me think that he has some potential is doubling the amount of, doubling the count when he kills something for like casualties against like leadership tests. So if he kills 2 guys or something like that, if you have like a wounded model and he's able to finish off that model and then kill another model, that's strong because that killing 2 models counts as killing 4 models. So that can really mess with like leadership tests and stuff like that. Now obviously Custodes just got like a big buff to their leadership, but most people when they're like designing their units, they're taking into account, unit size to make sure that they don't have like casualties from, basically morale issues. But for something like a horde army, say for instance, where you have 10 or 20 models in a unit, all of a sudden if he can wipe 2 or 4 or more models, all of a sudden that's counting as like 4 or 8 casualties. If they have a -8 to their leadership because he took out 4 guys, that's a big freaking deal because he's going to have killed 4 guys, and then all of a sudden leadership is going to smoke a bunch more guys too. So then it puts your opponent in a situation where they have to either potentially lose a bunch more casualties to morale, or pay like 2 command points to, basically like auto pass their morale check. So there's definitely some cheeky stuff that could be played here, but overall what we've seen, not phenomenal. Now granted, I don't expect them to just come out and show off the best stats right away, and he is the only Phoenix Lord we've seen so far of the new models. Obviously we have JAIN already. I'm really looking forward to seeing her rules. I hope that she is very good. I do love Banshees. I love the overall aesthetic. Will I pick up all the Phoenix Lords and paint them up just because they're so cool and flavorful and they have new sculpts? Probably. Will they be functional in battle and the type of thing that you're going to be seeing on a regular basis? Probably not. We're probably going to see like 1 or 2 of them that show up. But let's be real here. There's been rules for Phoenix Lords forever. They have never been particularly good. They've never been like auto-include units. So hopefully they're good enough to field, but I doubt they're going to be like game changers. Same with the Avatar. Like, he's really good in everything, but I doubt that he's going to be like some game changer that everyone takes. Now, is it possible that we see like JAIN or KARANDRAS or, BAHARROTH or ASURMEN, like, good enough that they could be competitive and taken all the time with the rules we've seen so far, coupled with whatever they get? It is definitely a possibility. And that's what I'm hoping for. But I don't think it's going to be the type of thing where it's like, oh, all these Phoenix Lords are so good, everybody's just taking them, and they're just auto-includes, and you have to have all 5. Like, I just don't see it. We'll see. I would like to see the rules on them. I would like to see them all be good and functional, and it be one of those type of things where it depends what kind of army you're taking, whether or not you take the Phoenix Lord, because he will be able to buff them, and they'll all be equally good. But typically the way we see these rules breakdowns and everything kind of come out, it's like one of them is probably going to be really strong, 1 or 2 of them is probably going to be like good and functional, and then the majority of them are probably just going to be kind of meh. So we'll see. So far, I like a lot of the rules. I like a lot of what I'm seeing, but I don't think we've seen anything that's like pure like game breaking so far. I think the Strands of Fate ability is probably the best we've seen so far, and when we start to see other things messing with that or enhancing that, that's when we'll start to see the true power of these guys. Also really looking forward to seeing like the psychic powers and stuff. But overall, I just want to see Eldar be fun. I want to see them be competitive, and I don't want to see them be broken. And I think so far from what we've seen, that's probably the most likely situation. So let me know what you think. Let me know if this rule seems kind of underwhelming, or if this has got you ambitious to be taking some of the other Phoenix Lords. Maybe I'm missing something here with MAUGAN Ra. But overall, I think the rules look good so far. I'm looking forward to them. I like how the models look. I like how the rules look. I think it looks like they're going to do a good job balancing them. I think things like Hit and Run and Strands of Fate are going to be really powerful and going to be able to be used with specific units in an amazing way. But I'm not seeing anything so far that's like, oh God, this is terrible. Like, this is broken. Oh man. I really like it. I like so far the balance. I like the theme. I like the models. So we'll see where we go from here. But that's it for today. Warhammer Man Studios. I'm Warhammer Man. Make sure you like and subscribe for Warhammer 40,000 Kill Team Necromunda Age of Sigmar, of course, Warcry content as well. And I'm out of here.